What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Comment Writers. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, joined as always by my good friend, Sleepy Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
So you see, you just said, "How's it going, Sleepy?" I'm wide awake. I'm fighting off the magic of some hot chocolate that I got that drugged me.
Exactly. You told me seconds ago you took like sleepy time hot chocolate.
It sounds
drank
fake.
sleepy time hot chocolate before we launch into like 2 hours of podcast recording.
See, like, but now if there's any doubts about my knowledge and my abilities tonight, people are gonna be like, "He's on drugs." But it's not true.
He's on drugs. I learned it from you, audience. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm gonna blame everybody else.
Toby, speaking of on drugs, I don't really have a good segue there. I went to see the new Godzilla movie.
I heard
over the weekend. So this is the part of the show where I talk at you about Godzilla for a second because it was really good, and it's semi toku. It is toku related. It's semi Kamen Rider related because they all fall under the tokusatsu banner. Toby,
I've been told. I see the water splash up over the rocks for that little. Like the little yeah. Pixar logo where the lamp jumps, instead the water splashes over the rocks and says,
"Of course,
hey Toei's doing a thing."
It's hype when that happens. So I have both I can tell you about the movie, and I want to tell you about my experience with the people in the theater as well. Both things are fun. So what's your experience with Godzilla movies? Are you a Godzilla fan?
I feel like I should be. I don't know that I ever saw a movie all the way through. I feel like I know enough of Godzilla, or at least like some general things. There was a Nintendo game that was called Godzilla.
Oh, yeah.
In which you played as him and stomped through stuff and pressed start to do radioactive breath, which seemed weird because most games used start as pause back in the day. But that game was kind of fun. And then also Mothra was in it, and she did sleepy wing throws that just like did like splash damage against enemies. And I also know there's Rodan, right? Is a dragon?
Rodan, yeah.
And there's Mechagodzilla, who is like the Mecha Turtle, where it's just Godzilla wrapped in armor.
Yep. They do get pretty weird.
And I think that's it. I know he comes out of the water, and sometimes he's a hero, and sometimes he's a villain, depending on the plot of the story that day.
Very true, very true. As an aside, someone should go through and come up with all of the NES games that use the start button for things other than pause, because that is a fun little like subset of games. Because with only like 4 buttons on that controller and a D-pad, there were definitely some games that use that in really fun, interesting ways, and that would be interesting to like go through and collect all of those. But yeah, Godzilla. I haven't seen as many of the Godzilla movies as I would like. I'm continuing to grow my ones that I've seen. But I've really enjoyed what I've seen, both the like older stuff that's like very campy, like you get back in the 90s and before, and some of the stuff is like hilarious looking, and that's why it's fun. But then with the more modern stuff is actually like genuinely really good typically. This one falls under the is super good category for me. So it is. So a lot of times with Godzilla, as you said, Godzilla sometimes is like portrayed as like a force of good. Sometimes like he's almost a good guy, and that usually comes up when he's like fighting other monsters. Like it'll be Godzilla versus some other monster, and that monster will be like truly evil. But then it seems like Godzilla will almost be like defending the city sometimes, and things like that. That comes up a lot where Godzilla is this weird like character that turns out to actually have some like morality built in. And I feel like the other flavor of Godzilla movie is Godzilla is just a force of nature where he comes in to attack the city, and all the humans do everything they can to stop him, and they can't stop him, and then eventually he just decides to stop and turn around, and then that's how the movie ends, is like they couldn't do anything, but Godzilla just changed his mind. And that's how it ends. And so it's almost like this like weird like helplessness is sort of the theme of the movie. And of course, like early Godzilla, like the reason that Godzilla started, like one of the main core themes was like Japan sort of dealing with the atomic bombs, and like Godzilla is sort of an allegory about that because he's radioactive and he's this huge destructive force coming to kind of take out to all of Japan. So it sort of is wrapped up in that, like Japan dealing with all of that fallout. Um, but now this movie I thought was so interesting because it's more of like it's like people dealing with like Japan's government, kind of, because the movie is sort of like kind of very anti-Japanese government but pro-Japanese people, which I found super interesting. And like
Godzilla's fighting for work from home rights, basically.
pretty much, yeah. No, like Godzilla like is sort of this force of nature in the movie that really isn't in the movie that much. It's a very human story. But it's essentially a disaster movie, but the disaster is Godzilla.
I gotcha.
And yeah, like the movie is like weirdly critical, not weirdly, but the movie is like aggressively critical about like how Japan's government treated people during the war, and like the conditions were terrible, and of course like kamikaze pilots and stuff, and they're very against that as a theme in the movie. And then at the end of the movie, of course, like little bit of a tiny spoiler, but like the government doesn't solve the problem, like citizens solve the problem. So
classic.
Yeah, it was interesting.
What year is the film supposed to be taking place in?
So it's set like just post World War II. So
it's still very old. It's
still
very
old. Yeah. So it picks up right after World War II ends, like literally like the last days of the war. And then we jump forward years kind of over the span of the movie. So like by the time we end, we're maybe, I don't know, 4 years post-war, something like that. So it is still pretty old. It's like it's back in like the 40s still. But yeah, it's super good, super interesting. It's one to see in the theaters if you get a chance to, and if you're interested in that at all, because while it is a very like human story, the Godzilla stuff is awesome. Like the spectacle of this Godzilla is very, very large and huge, and he's a Godzilla that like it's a good looking Godzilla.
That's what I got from all the trailers that I watched. They all looked amazing. Like the graphics and stuff they can do now, where tidal waves take over the city and everything else. Like it all looks very pretty.
So Shin Godzilla was another Godzilla before this that like got very highly regarded. Kind of, it was also one that was like very critically regarded. And I watched it and I liked it, but the Godzilla in that movie looked so stupid, like just the design that they chose, that I couldn't get over it. Like he at one point he was just like this weird bug-eyed worm looking thing, and like when he gets like his ultimate form, he just looks so dumb that I couldn't get over that fact that he looked so stupid. And this one, when he like does his big huge power up heat breath stuff, he looks cooler than he did before. It's really awesome. So there's some really good like Godzilla destruction too, because he has like a healing factor in this movie. So like he sort of takes damage and then heals back, and that looks very cool too. So it's a very fun Godzilla movie.
Ew.
Apparently they're already talking about sequels for it as well.
Not surprising whatsoever.
But my theater experience. So I went to see this by myself in the theater, which is sometimes what you do when you have a child and you want to go see a movie quickly, and which is perfectly fine. But
honey, I'm getting out of the house. I'm leaving the kid. I'm off to watch giant rubber monsters.
Exactly. It's your turn for bedtime, so I'm gonna go watch. Exactly, these giant rubber monsters on the big screen while I have the chance to. So I bought my ticket and I'm in the back row, and I had looked basically right before the movie started, and like no one else had bought any tickets beside me in the row. But then these people came and sat down like almost right next to me. There was one seat between me and them, and it was like a bigger group. So they bought tickets like very last minute of the showing. And then as they're sitting there before the movie starts, they're speaking Spanish, right? So they're only speaking Spanish to each other. And like it's one of those theaters where you could order food at. So their interactions with the server was like stilted in the way that it kind of was clear that like English wasn't maybe like their strongest language, if that makes sense. Like they're very, very clearly like Spanish speakers first, with like maybe less English skills than that. And mind you, Godzilla is a film that is in Japanese and subtitled in English. So that made me a little confused at first too. It seemed like it was going to maybe be a bit of a challenge. And these people from the very beginning talked through the whole movie, much like your experience you had recently.
When I got mad at Five Nights and lost my shit on children, yeah.
Exactly. So I wanted to yell at these people because, like, from the moment the movie started, they're just jabbering away, and the woman sitting next to me is actually playing on her phone, even, and she played on her phone for a few minutes until, like, I'm assuming her boyfriend next to her literally took it out of her hand, like, grabbed it from her as she was trying to fight it back so he could take it and, like, put it face down away from her. So he at least was smart enough to know that she shouldn't be doing that. But I couldn't really complain about these people because in order for me to like tell the server or something like these people aren't shutting up, I'm against the wall on their row. So he would have had to walk past them, get to me, hear my complaint, and then turn like right next to them and then be like, you guys need to keep it quiet. So they would know it was from me. But luckily other people shushed them at some point. And then at some point someone even complained about them because a server did actually come and tell them to keep it down.
They probably blamed you for that still.
They probably did, yeah. And then they did mostly keep it down after that. However, this is the craziest thing. They left with like an hour left of the movie.
So they watched like the first. So they basically went out to get dinner. At the theater and just went home after dinner.
But then the extra crazy part is they didn't eat food. They just had popcorn.
Hey, maybe they really love popcorn, man.
Maybe, yeah. But it was just the weirdest because one, and maybe they like the movie started and they all realized that's like, oh, this is subtitled. This is too hard for us to understand or something. I don't know. But it was like the weirdest experience. I'm just like, these people showed up, talked through the whole thing, and then left early. Like, what did you get out of this? Why did you spend
popcorn?
This $15?
They got delicious movie theater popcorn. Everyone loves it. The fake butter they drizzle was all there, Josh.
They're just easier ways to get popcorn. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
Not movie theater popcorn.
But they could have. So at this place, you could literally go up to the bar, which is outside of all the theaters, and order popcorn. Like you could get it out there. You didn't have to go sit down in the theater.
Who knows? Maybe they were upset by Godzilla trashing the Japanese government. You can never be too sure.
Maybe they were all offended by something that happened in the movie. That's true. I didn't think about that angle of it. But yeah, it was weird and bizarre, and I was happy that everyone else was annoyed by what was happening too, and was taking some action since I was unable to.
You were able to. You just cowered it out.
I don't want
to be trouble. Someone else needs to be the trouble.
Yes, in other circumstances, I maybe would have like shushed or said something, but one, it was like 8 against 1. And I'm trapped in their row. I'm against the wall. The only way out is past like all 8 of them. It would have been the most awkward experience that had ever happened if I had like tried to confront them. It would have been not good for me, I don't think. But yeah, that's the modern movie experience, I believe.
Perfect. That's why I never go to the movies.
Yeah, but go see.
I learned my lesson from Five Nights. People just ruin everything. I can't be associated with them anymore.
Yeah, it is weird. So like I ended up, especially with them leaving, like with an hour left, I still got like plenty of like completely quiet movie time, which was good. But yeah, I realized since I haven't been going to the theater too much, in the past, I don't know, 3 years or so, I realized that like it takes a lot for me in the theater to like forget that I'm in a room surrounded by strangers, if that makes sense. Like I used to be able to do that really easy. Like you go sit down, you get comfy, and you just sort of forget, and you get sucked into the movie. And
that's
it was
what
Nicole
Kidman always tells me now before the movie starts. That magic happens there, and you forget all your problems, and they wash away, and you just stare up at the flashing lights and absorb life.
Well, I'm sorry, Nicole. It raises my anxiety level enough now being out in public that it takes me a little bit longer to really get sucked in to the cinema. But yeah, maybe if I attend more movies, that would get better.
Or you might get madder. You might get more and more irritated that people don't
That's
just shut the fuck up and let you enjoy your thing.
I do wonder if like post-pandemic, if people aren't worse about that now. They had a few years where they all got to sit at home and talk over movies as loud as they want, and now that they're out again, they are having a hard time breaking that breaking that habit. I don't know. It wouldn't shock me.
I'm gonna say that is probably the case, because there's been people in my life that, like, if they're the type that talks during a movie at home in general, they're usually the type that will talk during the movie in the theater.
Yeah.
So I think, like, especially if you're just used to, like, staring at your phone, rambling to your friends while you're watching anything at home. Obviously, the 2 bonus COVID years help with that. I think it just makes it worse, probably.
Yeah, it's hard to turn that off again. I have a problem sometimes with friends that, like, think that they're whispering and they're just way too loud of whisperers. Like, oh my God, you have to stop this right now. That's what I've run into before. People who think they're being the quiet, considerate, like I'm whispering about something to you, but really they're just like, it's so loud.
It's full volume.
Yeah. Just no concept of how loud their whisper actually is.
Well, especially with those things too, I feel like it's easy to whisper talking loudly because the movie's loud, and those are 100% of the times where, like, the volume just drops out and you're talking full force and full volume while it's, like, dead quiet, and you're like, no, like, shit, I'm trying to whisper. I'm sorry.
Totally. Totally. And Toby, speaking of movies, the Kamen Rider Geats movie has just dropped, and I just wanted to put this out there in case people were interested in whether you and I were going to watch the movie and where that was going to happen at. That's going to happen on our Patreon.
We're going to hide it.
Yeah, we're going to hide it behind a paywall, nerds. But yeah, we wouldn't normally, it wouldn't fit into our normal sort of podcast routine since we're doing Gotchard episodes every week, but we do want to watch it. We love Geats. We want to see the movie. So if you want to check out us watching the movie and watch it with us, sign up on our Patreon if you're not already. Patreon.com/the Comment Writers, $3 a month. You can both watch this movie with us when that gets posted, and also check out all of our past episodes where we watch X-Aid and where we watch Kamen Rider Black Sun. Lots of fun stuff there. So just a little plug there for the Patreon and the upcoming Geats movie that we'll be watching. Toby, let's jump over to some emails, shall we?
Do the emails.
We got one email this week comes in from Charlie from Texas. Charlie had been, I think, asking you some pointed questions recently. If I remember correctly, I believe that Charlie was asking you some Pokemon questions. Is that right?
Oh, no. Yeah, there was Pokemon questions. I don't like what's about to happen here.
So Charlie says, I'm just going to get straight to the point. No dilly-dallying. Toby has to guess whether these are Chemis or the Japanese name of a Pokemon, and possibly guess either the number/category of Chemi or what Pokemon it is. This game also exists to torture Josh, who has to read all of these out. And
that's a perfect double burn. That's good
I'm
work,
looking
sir.
down the list, and holy crap, yes, this is going to be just as bad for me as for you.
So before we start this, am I at least allowed to look up the Chemi categories again?
Like prior to starting?
Yeah, like
yes, you can.
All right, let me try to.
I can probably help you with some, right? There's job, there's insect, there's
Okay, wait, hold on. I found them.
Vehicle.
Right. Okay, so insect, job, vehicle, animal, artifact, plant, occult, ancient.
I think there should be a Chemi category that's just like holidays, and it's just a Chemi that's like the embodiment of Christmas.
That's pretty funny. Josh,
right,
guess what?
Yeah, what?
I learned from the Chemi wiki page that the reason there's 101 Chemis is because when you're taking an introductory class to something, it's usually 100 or 101 level class.
Oh yeah, 101. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're missing.
I've never understood that though. Like I get that they're referencing the class thing, but that also has never made sense to me. Like why is it chemistry 101, chemistry 201? Like what do those numbers mean?
It's just to help you to know how advanced you are, I guess.
But like, why isn't it just 1 and then 2?
I don't know, man. You got to talk.
Yeah.
We have to go back to college for this one.
We'll have to look that up one maybe. All right. Are you ready? You have your Kemi categories.
I do. I found the last two. The last two I was missing is cosmic and fantastic.
Okay. So here's your first name. And you remember you're choosing Kemi or Pokemon.
Okay. And
So
it's
this
Japanese
is
name Pokemon.
the Japanese name of the Pokemon. Yeah.
Okay.
So first one is Pika Hotaru.
I'm going to say that's Pikachu in Japanese.
Ooh, good guess. It's a little bit of a red herring. That is a Kemi.
We didn't see him yet.
That is Kemi number 2. Do you know what category you think Pika Hotaru would be in of the Kemis?
It's cute something then. I'm going to say it's an owl, so I'm going to say animal.
That's close. It's an insect.
Okay.
Insect. All right. Next one, Chobomaki.
That sounds like a Kemi.
Chobomaki.
And I'm going to say that's an artifact.
That is actually a Pokemon. Can you guess which Pokemon that might be? Chobomaki? I'm going to guess no, you can't.
Wait. So we'll say Maki's a shark.
Okay.
I don't know any shark Pokemon because they're probably new. But at least I got shark. Is there a shark involved in the Pokemon?
So Shelmet is the Pokemon. Is that a shark?
No, that sounds like some dumb advanced version of like Cloyster or one of them.
Yeah, it is. I just looked it up. It is. It's the weird clam guy who looks like he's a knight. If you have seen him, yeah, he's a
clam knight.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, Chobomaki. Next one, Toby, is Dokirimajin. Dokirimajin.
I'm gonna say that's a Job Kemi.
You nailed it. That is a Job Kemi.
Boom.
That is the one who had all the cards. Do you remember that? Where you like fanned out the cards? We've actually, we've seen him in the show.
The magician guy?
Yeah, the magician guy. Yeah, he's like vague. I guess he is just full on a magician. Yeah. I was trying to mix like magician and like dealer of cards, but like no, he's just pretty much dressed like a magician now that I look him up.
Hey, the fact I got like 2 points
I'm
on that one is
yeah, I'm impressed.
But shockingly, I didn't remember we actually saw him. It just sounded like a human name ish.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, next one, Toby. Sake Bushipo.
That sounds like another Kemi, like the samurai guy. So we're gonna call that one Occult Kemi.
That was another red herring, but that is a Pokemon. But I get where you're coming from because it did sound like that samurai Kemi. This is a Pokemon. So the words that Charlie has written next to this are Screamtail Ancient Jigglypuff. So
Ooh, that sounds cool.
I'm looking that up real quick. Screamtail is just the actual name of the Pokemon. Screamtail. Interesting. I didn't know there was a Pokemon.
Bird? Is it a crazy bird or something else?
No, it looks like a Jigglypuff.
Yeah.
It is not known to evolve into or from any other Pokemon, but it appears to be an ancient relative of Jigglypuff. Well, would you look at that?
This is all new lore bullshit.
I think that it's from Scarlet and Violet. It's a new Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet is what it looks like to me. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Screamtail. That feels like not a Pokemon name though. Screamtail? Like two words.
We're getting into the it's actually 2 words.
2 words, yeah. That's bizarre to me.
Not since Mr. Mime. I feel like have we done an actual
True. Not since Mr. Mime. All right, next one, Toby, is Onbato.
It sounds like a bat, so I guess that's an animal Kemi.
I think it is a bat, but it's a Pokemon. It is Noibat, the Pokemon Noibat.
See, I'm calling shenanigans on this because Charlie's been around enough now to know that we don't know the new Pokemon. So I'm just getting bullied at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's why these are trending towards the new Pokemon. Toby.
Well, what's Japanese for Trubbish? I know that one.
Let's look it up right now. Let's look up what Trubish's Japanese name is, because I'm sure it's it's nothing like that. It is Yabukuron.
Okay. If that
There
comes
you go.
back up, just tell me I know that one.
All right. Hopefully I scanned the list well enough and didn't just spoil one. But all right, after Onbato, we have the next one, which is Panpaka Parka. Panpaka Parka.
Isn't that the bunny parka, Kenny?
It is the bunny parka, yeah. Which is an artifact.
Okay. See, I wanted to guess it. Nah, you know what? I guess that's an artifact.
The artifacts are like all items, basically. It's like it all the items fall under. Oh wait, maybe I'm wrong. Then it's not the bunny. Is that not the bunny? But, oh no, it's the parka version of the bunny parka, right? Because the bunny parka is the combined form.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
yeah.
it's the parka specifically. All right, we got there on that one. Next one, Odoripa.
It's a Kemi. It's
Yep.
the number one card. Sorry for coughing. Josh, cut that out. So oddly enough, the Kemi cards we opened are sitting on my desk still, and all the ones are on the top of the pile.
You can
So
be cheating.
I was actually looking at Odoripa before. The icon is a little muscle man, so whatever that means, that's what he is.
Oh, gotcha. That's a job. That's the job icon.
Okay.
Right.
That's a weird job. It looks like a genie.
Listen, sometimes jobs are like garbage man, and sometimes they're being a weird little genie guy.
I guess
they're all
fair.
jobs. Everybody's got to do a job. All right, next one. Tell me we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more.
Okay.
Next one is Numu Regon.
I'm gonna say it's Registeel from Pokemon.
It is a Pokemon. It's not Registeel. It is Goodra, which again I think is a newer-ish Pokemon.
Yeah, really.
Who looks like basically a slimy Dratini or something like that, basically.
Goodra is number 706. How the fuck am I supposed to remember 700 Pokemon?
I mean, yeah, we got 151 under our belts. That's all that matters. All right, next one is Berobaruto. Berobaruto.
I'm gonna say Kemi Animal Bear.
That is a Pokemon. Licky. Pokemon
What the
Licky,
fuck are
Licky. Licky, I think, is probably a Licky Tongue variant, if I had to guess. That looks correct to me based on the photo. It evolves from Licky Tongue when leveled up while knowing roll out. This is where Pokemon...
So it's even evolution one. That's even stupider.
Yeah. And this is where Pokemon... Listen, maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I'm just old. When Pokemon started getting to the point where the levels branched, where like, well, if you level it up normally, it goes here. If you level it up when it knows a specific move, it goes here. If you level it up when it's like a Thursday and the Pokemon's really happy that it becomes this other Pokemon, that's just crazy. That's crazy. I know we had Eevee from the very beginning. I know Eevee did that with the weird stones and stuff, but it's gotten out of hand.
So did the fossils.
That's true. So do the fossils. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. maybe this has always been a part of Pokemon. But
so Licky is 463. So that's a little bit remotely closer to what I might have known, but I still don't. Also, there's 1,017 Pokemon now that are numbered, and there's a couple non-numbered ones. So this game is mean. That's all I'm gonna say.
I can't believe Licky has been around since Diamond and Pearl. I feel very embarrassed for not knowing that. Like, those are games that I feel like I played pretty extensively. But again, I probably never had a Licky Tongue that I evolved
into Licky. Yeah,
while knowing rollout. Yeah. Anyway, next one, Toby, is Raguraji.
I'm gonna say it sounds like a job, Kemi.
It does. It actually really does sound like a job, Kemi. It's actually Swampert, the Pokemon Swampert. So that's one that I know the name of.
Did you actually know him?
Yeah.
He looks like an evolution of some. Oh, it's Mudkip.
Yeah.
It's Mudkip all the way up. Okay, that one we'll let slide. He might be okay.
Mudkip all the way up. I'm so upset that I knew exactly what you meant by those words. It's Mudkip all the way up. Do you remember the internet when it was such a I don't know, such a baby time on the internet when Mudkip was a meme? Just like the existence of Mudkip was like a funny thing.
I do, because at some point Tom Green still had his internet show,
Yeah.
and 4chan used to always troll him with Mudkip. And there's a video of him just saying Mudkip over and over as like either like buying into it or getting irritated. But I just remember there's definitely a video of him going Mudkip, Mudkip over and over.
That's pretty great. Yeah, I sometimes miss that era of the internet. It was just simpler times. Simpler times. All right, 2 more to go here. Next one is Baraki. Baraki.
I'm gonna say Onyx, the Pokemon.
Ooh, that's a very good guess. It is a Pokemon, but it's Umbreon, actually.
Oh, okay.
I would not have guessed. I would not have guessed Umbreon. And last one, Toby, Kabagon. It's a great.
That sounds like a Chemi. We're gonna call him a vehicle Chemi.
Ooh, also I see exactly where you're going with that for sure. That is a Pokemon, and it's Snorlax. Kabagon is Snorlax.
Motherfucker! And he even asked me if I like Snorlax or not, or I told him I like Snorlax. So, well, I want to know.
Uh-huh.
I guess it makes sense. Like the names in English make sense to what the Pokemon are more times than not. So
yeah, I think they're usually pretty.
Like
they're usually closer than this. Like if that's what you're saying.
Like I don't know. Obviously, I don't know Japanese, but I feel like there's something lost in translation here, where it's probably not named really Snorlax in Japan.
No, it's
like,
named whatever I just said. It's named Kabigon.
Yeah, but like, does that mean Snorlax? Or did they just turn Kabigon into Snorlax because it's a big sleeping cat bear thing?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the cases where like Kabigon is maybe like some sort of weird pun in the way that Snorlax is. Like maybe like we snore, but maybe the word for snore is here. Let's look it up. Let's see if we can reverse this.
Kabigon plays on the word kabi, which means mold, and Snorlax is based on a real person, Koji Nishino, who worked as a designer on the game and has a slight resemblance to the character.
There you go.
But that, I don't know. The logistics of this don't make sense to me.
I'm gonna look up snore in Japanese, which is ibiki. So he could be Ibiki Lex. So I think the logistics make a lot of sense because like they're doing the same thing that we're doing, right? Like he's a big Pokemon that sleeps. So you start with the word snore and then you turn it into something slightly different. Snore or relax. Okay, great. Because it's snore and relax, and we're merging those things together. They're doing the same thing, right? It's like, well, this means this, so we're going to take a portion of that word, and then we're going to slap on this other thing and merge them together. And
so apparently, Snorlax, they're very good about translating into that for all the languages. So Snorlax in Spanish is Ronqualaxo, which is combining Ronquido, which is snore, and Laxo, which is slacks. French is Ronflex, based on the word ronfler, to snore in French. So they did pretty good with that one.
Yeah, that's
and then
good. Yeah.
Ekans is Arbo in Japanese, but that's the Japanese word for a boa snake. So it's still anagram. So that one still works kind of. But like Squirtle in Japanese is Zenigame, which is baby pond turtle.
Which is very appropriate.
Right. And then he's Squirtle here because like squirting turtle. He's Carapace in French for carapace, like shell, and pouce means cute.
Oh, nice.
Koreans Kobugi because Koma means kid and Jiobugi means turtle. And his name in German is Shiggy, which is a shortening of Schildkröte, which is the German word for turtle. So I guess they always do it. It just seems, I don't know. Languages, man. How do they work?
Yeah. Really, my big takeaway there is like, shout out to the translation team over there
The
working on Pokemon.
localizers that did it everywhere
The
managed to make it work.
localizers are like incredible, like in some of those cases, right? Like you took something where like the name in Japan is super literal, where it's like, what was it, like swamp
Baby pond
turtle,
turtle.
baby pond turtle, and then you're like, okay, well, how do we convey something similar in English, and to get the perfection that is Squirtle. That's amazing. A lot of those were pretty impressive that you were saying, like in all the languages of like, yeah, you figured out how to convey the same like jovial pun, but like from a different angle. That's cool.
So
Uh,
we learned something today
we
after this
did, yeah.
bullying.
The ones that are interesting to me too are the ones that they don't translate. For example, Pikachu is just Pikachu in Japanese as well.
Yeah, when I said Pikachu earlier, I should have never guessed him because I could have sworn he was Pikachu everywhere. To be honest,
Which is really interesting that like he's like the face of the game and he's like one of the ones they didn't translate. Kind of fascinating.
well, it's funny because Pikachu, I always remember what he is supposed to be because Pikachu is like literally cute mouse or something like that, or little mouse. And I always remember that because Choo Choo Rocket, the great Dreamcast game, was about putting mice in rockets. So I always remember Chew is
Chew.
mouse, and that's how I
Nice.
remember him and Pikachu.
That's good. I like it. I was looking up that does not go the angle. I was looking up trying to look up all the untranslated Pokemon, the ones that are the same, but there's not a good list that I'm immediately finding.
There's probably 1,000 at this point too. So don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't stress yourself too much here.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, Charlie, thank you so much. Charlie's he did say don't tell Toby, but most of these are Pokemon just to mess with him. Which, if you notice, yeah, there's a lot of Pokemon there. And then Charlie finishes up with saying, as always, y'all are doing great. Keep up the good work, and tell everybody they should join the Patreon for exclusive content and access to the Discord server. So yeah, as Charlie said, give the Patreon a shot, especially if you want to check out the Geats movie coming up. So awesome. Thank you very much, Charlie. Toby, I think now it's time for the main event.
Let's do it.
This episode. We are here to talk about Kamen Rider Gotchard, episode 13. We're already up to 13 of Gotchard. And dare I say, Toby, things are heating up.
I feel like they heated up, and then in classic Geats form, they cool back down. We had our 2-episode arc, and
we did. Yeah.
And now the problems are solved.
Yeah, it does. This show seems very currently. Before it was like they were kind of doing like individual little episodes, and now they seem very focused on the 2-episode arc for sure. Which yeah, like of course, last episode we had Sabi Maru becomes Kamen Rider Dread, ending on the big cliffhanger of how do we save Sabi. Everyone's so down, and then yeah, of course, this episode. They tie it all up in a neat little bow. Sabi gets saved, which we'll talk about in depth. But I kind of wish we would have stretched that out longer. I wish we would have had at least an episode or two of our friend's the bad guy. What do we do? But they definitely didn't let that linger at all.
Yeah. So obviously, my extent of the long form Kamen Riders is short now. But we at some point we noticed Geats was pretty rapid fire about like dropping an issue and then fixing the issue the next week.
Yeah.
And now I feel like Gotchard's doing it. We watched a bunch of X-Aid. I feel like X-Aid kind of works like that. So it really seems like at most a lot of the scarier issues that any of these Kamen Riders ever go through is usually like, oh, it'll be fixed next week. Don't even worry about it anymore.
For sure. I mean, Geats was, I think, especially good at this because even though they would like resolve things pretty quickly, they would instantly then set up like the next big cliffhanger, the next big mystery, where Gotchard tends to kind of resolve things and leave you happy or at least leave it resolved, right? Like they don't do a lot of like, and here's your hook for tuning in next week, which is, fine. It's just a different way to do things. But it makes everything feel very tidy. And I think here for sure, it's like it ended on a cute note, but like I would have liked to see it. Maybe this could be a 3-episode arc or something like that. But
a little more sadness.
A
That was
little
all.
bit more, yeah, for a little bit more sadness, it would have made the world go around here. But I had one more point about Gotchard. Oh, the one thing about Gotchard that they are letting breathe and like really taking their time on like dragging out the reveal is Hotaro's dad.
Yes.
Because
Again today, we stare at the. Oh, Hotaro's just like his dad. He's such a good boy. That was his dad's favorite saying. And of course,
yep.
it just zoom on the picture with the card still in front of his face.
Like that was an episode 1 thing with the card zoom on his face, and then they like really haven't mentioned it too much. Like there's been a couple little passing like mentions of the father, and then this episode again they hit it again pretty hard. I think the fact that they're bringing it back up again means they're probably going to reveal it pretty soon, but like that's a 13 episode stretch where they've like sort of set something up and haven't revealed it. So they can do, longer
Yeah.
longer extensions. And the other one is I think whatever the heck is going on with Kudo. Like we had a couple.
The face all the time again.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
just looks and stares, and you wonder if she's really. Well,
So,
yeah, I wonder if she's helping or not. But I'm still forced to wonder the "all this is your fault" line, and how
yeah,
much that truly means at this point.
and they keep bringing it up too. There were some very like pointed flashbacks to that line in this episode, where like they really don't want you to forget that the baby metal sister said that to her. Like you really got to remember that there's something going on here. So before where maybe it was like, maybe she was just toying with her, but the fact that they've replayed that so many times, it's like no, there's gonna be a reveal here, I think. So uh yeah, there's a couple long-term things, but for the most part we're cleaning things up after 2 episodes. But anywho, to dive in here a bit closer, of course, we talked about Sabi is Kamen Rider Dread. Hodoro got the UFO X sword, the X Gotch caliber last time around, but he didn't really fully know how to use it, and everything ended on a real sad note. It kind of sort of picks up that way again. So Hodoro is having a terrible dream about Kamen Rider Dread basically targeting his friend Kajiki, and Hodoro goes to like save the day, but in taking Dread down, he kills Sabi Maru in his dream, of course. And then Hodoro wakes up in English class, having had this terrible dream while sitting in class.
Falling asleep in
And
class was always the worst. The teacher always embarrasses you. They make a scene, and Hodor got the same treatment.
did you have a little like shock when English was spoken in your Kamen Rider at this moment? Because he's in like English class at this point, and English comes out of the English teacher, obviously, where he's like, "Good morning, Mr. Ichinose," and it kind of shocked me a little bit. I was not prepared to hear my native tongue.
I'm so used to staring at the subtitles
Yeah,
to read
yeah,
what's going on that I didn't even think about the fact that he spoke English. I just saw
yeah.
like the "Good morning, Mr. Hodoro," whatever it was, and it didn't click that it was English. I was just reading and trying to focus on words, and
This poor English teacher meets his demise later on. But yeah, he is the shows in the last couple seasons have really been into the introducing a couple gaijin characters and letting them do their thing. And apparently this one was the English teacher this episode. But yeah, he got to say good morning, Mr. Ichinose, and everyone laughed. Then of course, so we cut to a really interesting scene I found where Mr. Minato, the teacher, is meeting with the alchemy leaders. And
all in their Organization 13 robes. I agree.
yeah, these guys could not be more bad guy coded if they were like twirling their mustache. Like they're in these robes, like you said, their heads are covered. They're in this like dark, scary, ornate room, and like basically they very quickly say like, we don't believe you about the spy stuff. Like sure, if you say that that's true, whatever. And they very quickly say, okay, your student got abducted, it's probably not worth trying to get him back, just let him die. And then
You only
they
caught 46 chemis so far. You need to catch more. Get the hell out of
exactly
here.
they send him off with telling him like, we need to get all these chemis by the year's end. So clearly they're bad news. Wouldn't shock me if they're not like the big bad of the whole season, or if they're not like in 100% cahoots with the sisters or something. Like they're awful. These people are terrible. Seems very clear. Minato walks out of the room, and of course Spanner is there. Spanner kind of asks how that went, and based on the look on Minato's face, basically he decides that
it went very bad.
It didn't go well. Yeah. And then Spanner at that point basically decides to take out Dredd on his own. He says, "Leave Dredd to me." And Minato, of course, is concerned about the actual student that is encased in Kamen Rider Dredd and his safety. And then Toby back over at base. Kudo is he's kind of forlorn. She's this is where she's thinking back to the "it's all your fault" that the Abyssal Sister had told her. And Hodoro comes in and he's trying to figure out his sword.
She's making all the faces as always. She's staring off in the distance going, yeah, probably is.
Yeah, it is. I shouldn't have eaten that last breadstick. I don't know. And we get our little compilation where everyone's just really sad. Ringe has Isaac. She's out on a swing. She's like trying to will Isaac to talk so she can hear from Sabi Maru. It's not working. Maybe she just needs to charge the tablet. Who knows?
It did look off. And we know Isaac does. He has his own power source, so you never know.
That's true. Yeah, he can charge instantly. And then, of course, we cut to finally we get our sights on Sabi Maru to see what's up with him. And he's kind of like, he's trapped. He's in kind of the sister's dungeon. We find out he really can't take much more of being Kamen Rider Dredd or he'll die. And the littlest sister basically says they're going to use him up until he takes his last breath.
And it's funny because at that point, I was wondering, that was before I recognized the fact that the arcs are 2 episodes. So I was hoping at that point he would be a multiple episode issue. And then for Christmas, they could have killed him to keep up the tradition of killing Kamen Riders on Christmas.
Yeah, they definitely could have. I definitely saw some like comments around online where people were like a little worried, like, oh, I was getting a little nervous that like Sabi, it's like almost Christmas time. He's like, wrapped up in Kamen Rider Dredd. Maybe it's going to go bad. I think I did see someone on Reddit say, now that this was resolved, someone on Reddit was like, oh no, I hopefully like Minato doesn't die. Like they were trying to pick out like who else was on the chopping block for Christmas time.
Anyone that's not Hodoro or Kudo, I feel like is on the chopping block.
Yeah, I don't think Spanner is, but maybe Spanner could be like, he could fit that role, but it just feels like he hasn't done much at this point, but
he would be more of like the self-sacrifice death, I feel like, than just murdered if it happens.
I think so too. We cut back to the restaurant and we get to see Hodoro's mom. We hadn't seen her for a little while. She's back. And we have a very distracted Hodoro. Finally, his mom tells him to, instead of worrying, try looking. That's something your dad used to say.
That's a hell of a thing that Dad taught him. Go look for solutions to your problems. Don't just sit there with your thumb up your ass.
It made me. I didn't do this, but I thought about it. To go back and rewatch episode 1 to see if anyone says that, because it was like, is that an actual real hint of who the dad is? And then I figured the internet would tell me if that was actually a thing, and I didn't go back and check it out, but it seemed like they were really trying to hint at who the dad might be at that point. But this is where we get, as you said, lots of like, oh, your father, and like the face blocking in a very awkward way. I'm still very confused about who this father could be, because the face is blocked for us, but Hodoro obviously has seen his dad's face in this photo.
I would like it better if that was the only picture he ever had of his dad, and they just kept it there, and like he didn't know, and never actually had like the drive to move the little sign. And Mom was just always like, nope, it's that body right there. Don't worry about it. And he's such a good kid. He's just like, okay, Mom, I won't.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be great. We've been watching the Netflix show Big Mouth lately. And there's a character on Big Mouth where her mom is like a groupie for Hoobastank. So she's like never around, and she only is ever shown on the show from the back. So you never see her face, which I'm not sure if they'll ever like reveal her, but that's sort of like been consistent with how they've shown her. So we just watched an episode where this character's girl was sort of the main focus, and like there were characters who purported to be her father that knew her mother. So they showed a picture to prove like, hey, I was with your mom, but because they've never shown the mom's face in the photo that the character showed, there was a bird flying in front of the mom's face, and like, yeah, it's a bummer that we didn't get a better picture of your mom. I thought that was
I
really
always
great.
respect when they stick to those hustles and they make some wacky thing.
It's really dumb and really fun. Yeah, just oh man, it's too bad that bird was right there, but we definitely know your mom. So Hodoro runs off Toby, and then he runs into right outside. He runs into Kajiki. Kajiki's very excited because there's been tons of UFO reports lately. Turns out UFO X is flying around, and people are seeing him.
And they're going to find him. They have a plan.
Exactly. He gets that idea. He's going to summon UFO X. Hodoro goes and basically presents it to the team, and they all agree to give it a try. They kind of decide that like, oh, Sabi maybe actually did summon him before. That's why he came. Came and kind of gave me the sword and sort of made his appearance known. So we're going to try it again. We're going to bring him back. But before they can make too many plans, the alarm sound and the sisters are walking up to the school, which I really love. I love that they're just like, no, we're going to go start some shit. Hang on a minute. We're just going to wade up into this school. Which like really begs the question. They've been erasing so many memories. Are they going to have to wipe the memory of like the entire school at this point? Because they've all seen the Abyssal Sisters. What's going on?
The little one's pretty good at all the magic, so I'm sure she has it taken care of. Whatever the answer is, she did it yesterday at this point.
Probably did. And this is Toby, where the English teacher, he turns around and basically says like, you guys can't be here. You need to pass. And they just like, they obliterate him. They just spin him up into a tornado and shoot him straight into the air. And we don't ever see him again for the rest of the episode. So pretty sure he's dead.
Best way to do it.
What a short-lived but fun character. And then of course this is the point where we finally have our little confrontation between the alchemy kids and the sisters, and Sabi gets summoned and he's forced to henshin. We get that single tear running down his cheek as he henshins.
So that still looks cool to me every time. I wish they would do the crying henshins in something that was more aggressive than like the happy nice kids Kamen Rider. Because like he cries, but it doesn't look like if you're in the cry, I feel like you need the crying in pain, screaming, Black Sun kind of vibe.
Okay,
and not just like the single tear rolls down henshin kind of thing. Like needs to be a little more escalated.
I'm with you. Yeah, and like, could you imagine something on the brutality level of Black Sun, the things that they could do with someone basically being forced against their will to henshin? Like, yeah, that's wild. Yeah, just it would go real dark, real dark. It already is kind of dark in this kids' TV show, and it would go even worse.
Yeah, like the general vibe is, it's not a happy one. I'm just saying it could be way more aggressive, and then it'd feel even better.
Yeah, I think Dredd would make an awesome Black Sun character. Just in general. Just give me all of Dredd and put it in Black Sun and turn it all up to 11. Like, the things that he's already doing are so cool and so awesome. Like, imagine where the spine comes out and wraps around. Like, imagine that henshin, but in a Black Sun style.
Gritty and real and horrible pain.
Yeah. Hodoro, of course, hesitates because, he doesn't want to hurt his friend Sabi. So Spanner shows up around this point to fight Dredd. They get in quite the little scuffle, we'll say. And while that's happening, the kids head off to go up on the roof to try to summon UFO X, and they bring Kajiki along. And this is the point where Mr. Minato, the teacher, just goes full badass mode. I love whenever he gets to show off. He puts his ring on the right finger, he transforms, and he forms this like awesome staff
out of an umbrella and a bench or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was so cool. And then it's this staff that's like taller than he is, and it like ends in a it's not a trident because it only had 2 points,
Like a
but
moon, like a half moon shape.
half
Kinda.
moon shape. Yeah, he looked like a freaking wizard. It was awesome. And he's like using that to like fend off all their attacks. And at one point, Spanner is about to get the killing blow on Dread, but of course, Minato stops him because we don't want to kill Sabi Maru. And like he does it by using his like half moon shaped staff, which I thought was very, very cool. And that's kind of a key point too in the episode. Like Minato basically has faith in the kids. He tells Spanner, he talks about hope, and Spanner kind of scoffs at the idea of having hope, but he does relent. He he says it's stupid, but he does back off and he doesn't kill Dread, which is I think one of the turning points for Spanner a little bit. We get to see a little bit of a softening.
He goes back and forth between dick and possibly decent guy, which is why he's prime and perfect for the Christmas murder of 2023.
Totally. Totally true. And then she'll be up on the roof. The summoning is beginning for UFOX, and Kajiki doesn't really know what's going on, so he's doing his version of the summoning, which is Ventra, space people. I loved it. I don't know what Ventra means, but I'm assuming it means like come on. But it was great. He's just over in the corner, just yelling about space people. It was good. Before UFOX can show up, though, however, Spanner and Dread end up on the roof. Gajiki gets scared and runs into a wall, knocks himself out.
That's one less brain wipe he has to take now.
Exactly. It's a brain injury, but not a brain wipe.
Yeah, he'll suffer the concussion to not get his brain actually wiped.
Exactly. And Sabi Maru finally speaks through Isaac, so he's still Dread, but he speaks through Isaac and says that he wants to meet UFOX, and he's suffering badly at this point. He's like clutching his chest. You can tell he's about to die. Dread's about to kill him, it seems like. This is also where Minato shows up. The sisters kind of like really are like kicking his butt up to the roof. So everybody's here. Gang's all here. The summoning continues in earnest, kind of as all this nonsense is happening around them.
Wait, real quick.
Finally, yeah, go ahead.
Ventra is the Japanese word for spaceship.
Oh, okay. That's even better. Spaceship, space people.
Yeah, like, so I don't know. What is this? Okay, so there's some manga or anime called Eurosayasura, or it's probably 2 words that got shortened to a subreddit. But 3 years ago, someone asked what Ventura space people meant, and someone said apparently it's something Japanese UFOers believed that they claimed was the word for spaceship in an alien language. So it's the word you're supposed to use to contact a spaceship.
That's
so
amazing.
He's literally using what? Yeah. So I guess that's kind of a deep cut, but that's like hyper specific. It's like the fucking Pokemon thing. Like it's the alien word for a spaceship. So of course Kajiki, the super occult cosmic cool guy, would yell the alien word for spaceship to try to call the alien spaceship.
Total. That's so good. Earlier in this episode, actually, when he talks about he's excited about the UFO, he has like a real sly look on his face, and he's like, "I know how to summon it." Like he has a real moment where he's like, "I can do this," and that's what he's talking about. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's really good. Ventra, space people. UFOX does actually show up now finally and basically just abducts Hodoro just instantly. Takes him over to the Kimi bottle land where we saw from the first episode where it's all the bottles are hanging in the air. It's just a weird little like alternate universe, I guess, is where all that's at. And UFOX takes him there to teach him how the sword works and to show him basically that the sword is actually an attachment to his driver.
Which is the wildest, crazy, stupid thing in this episode. It's hilarious to see how big the driver is now.
Yeah.
Basically, like, so in the old days when there weren't backlit video games and cell phones and everything, you had to buy a light for your Game Boy. And it reminds me of the size of the light and the magnifying glass put together for the Game Boy, where it's just an extra like 3 feet of driver plastic just to be able to use the spaceship.
That's perfect. It looks exactly like that. Yes, I had a light attachment for my Game Boy Color that looked just like that, where it's like an L-shaped bracket that slides on top, and like, yeah, you have the magnifying glass and the light. Yep, that's exactly what it looks like. I personally love how big and dumb it looks. Like, it is so over the top, and I think that's true of this entire form. Because yes, he comes back. He finally henshins, so he puts his regular cards in. He puts the attachment on top of his driver. He puts UFO X in, and he transforms into what he calls Super Gotchard. And I think Super Gotchard is incredible. Just no notes. It is he has like flying saucers as hands. He has a flying saucer as his whole head and like upper shoulder area, and you can see the helmet through the glass of the flying saucer. And the helmet, the upper portion of it, is the little green alien that looks like it's flying the saucer. So freaking good. And then all the little elements I think of the suit are very cool too for me. They do a lot of like kind of transparent yellow tinted plastic. So like he has like a little tiny cape on the back, but it's see-through, but it's plastic. It's not fabric. And I think all those elements look very cool. And it is the perfect level of just like over the top ridiculous for me. That's what I want out of Kamen Rider.
Everything about the UFO suit I thought was very cool. Like the finisher was is super cool, and all those other things are awesome. I think going my name's Super Gotchard now is the dumbest part of all of it.
Yeah, it's a little silly.
Like he easily could have been like Gotchard X or something else with the UFO name in it. But Super Gotchard is lame to me as a name. In name only, I think it's stupid.
It also like maybe it's like a translation thing, but yeah, like Super doesn't infer any UFO-ness about him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, totally. Like it's just he's just yeah. He's
UFO cosmic Gotchard. Like anything else, I think would work as a better name than just Super Gotchard.
Cosmic Gotchard would have been good, yeah, but no. But I'm pretty in love with the suit. He flies around like a UFO, so he like spins, his head spins and his whole body spins underneath it while he like flies around, which is really funny. I like that a lot. He's got this cool whip that he uses to finally separate the entity of Dread from Sabi Maru, which I thought was very cool. And of course, yes, we have the big finisher. We have a song that plays as the finisher starts, which I always love when they do the song over top of the big fight sequence. And the Gotchard finisher, just to quickly describe it, 2 UFOs appear, basically like kind of abduct both the people. They go up into the space, I guess. And while one UFO is kind of like holding on to the enemy, Hodoro, Kamen Rider, like orbits around, kicking him over and over and over again. So he looks like a planet, and this is like a satellite rotating the planet or something. And that's where he gets like the flurry of rider kicks that happen. It's a very cool finisher.
Like I said, everything is cool about it, other than the name.
Yeah, I will agree. I will for sure agree. I found it very interesting that they were able to separate Dread as a physical entity and Sabi Maru. Like for a moment here, in order to do the finisher, like Dread is like standing on its own, moving on its own. So like Dread has a physical form, I guess, which is confusing to me.
I guess the driver is the suit, and there's programming in it that makes it still work. Because again, like, so it's one of those weird things where, again, my selection pool is very limited for the things I know. But like, if they're saving data in the Dread driver, it's really the same thing they were doing to try to make the crazy evil driver in X-Aid, where like they'll do the battles and kill people, and then like, oh, like we got his data in the driver though. I can make Kamen Rider Chronicles. I can make this. And it's basically the same exact idea,
True.
just with the Abyssal Sisters this time instead of computer technology.
I guess the caveat there is, as far as we know, she keeps talking about they got a lot of data, they learned a lot, but we don't 100% know what they're doing. But like, it does seem like, yeah, they are gathering data to make the perfect writer, or through Kamen Rider Dread, which would lend itself to why this is Type 0, that they're going to keep sort of leveling up Dread as they go. But yeah, it's kind of seemingly a similar thing there for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to have something that you can do your big finisher on that doesn't involve killing Sabi Maru.
Oh, yeah,
So that makes sense too. After the finisher is over, the Dread Driver falls on the ground, and the littlest sister picks it up. And again, that's where she says, "We have acquired enough data." So she's kind of happy to just slink off back to the lair. And of course, Toby, Sabi Maru is alive. He's saved. It's a big happy moment all around.
They're going to go catch chemis again like the old days.
Yep, we have their like, it almost, I know he's hurt, but it's like the feeling of like when movies in the 80s would end with like a jumping high five freeze frame.
Yeah.
It's that vibe. Mr. Minato says that he believes Ichinose can become a big shot alchemist. And as we said, even Spanner's a little bit moved. He maybe believes in hope now. Who knows?
Much like Hero of Exade. Maybe this damn intern's not so bad after all.
Totally. That is 100% the vibe. So yeah, they definitely end on a pretty happy note there. But I think they set up some good stuff in this episode, regardless of the like cleaning up the Dread stuff like a little too nicely here. Because I'm excited about who becomes Dread next, because I want to see more of that. And I'm excited about the father reveal, which I think is probably getting closer. And I'm excited about the clear bad guys that are all of the alchemy. I don't know, coven, whatever you want to call them. I want to know more about those guys, and I want to find out just how evil they really are. How about you? What are your thoughts on the episode?
Same. Like I guess the main way it works with the coven is they have to go kind of heavy-handed quick of like, we have one mission and one mission only, and you're supposed to be getting the chemis. Like, the kids can die, who gives a shit? That's why we sent Spanner, to make sure you get shit done. Now that I've remembered that everything is always wrapped up in 2 episodes, I'm not going to be as stressed next time something bad happens to somebody. And then the ending was very sweet. Like, I think the piano version of, because it's been in a couple times now, it's the piano version of the main theme.
Yeah.
And I feel like it works 20 times better as a sad, like, emo piano song. I could see like that song being under like any media at the end of like, hey, it's credits for a video game. Hey, it's
totally
any of those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, like, especially from a couple weeks ago, it's definitely turned away into like a full Kamen Rider show than it used to be, than like the easy, softer days. So I'm still here for it. We're good.
Yeah, I think that it's really picked up for me from the first 10 episodes or so, 9 episodes or so. I think it's like it's transitioned a little bit. It's turned a corner. It feels much more like Kamen Rider. I think it still has a little bit more of the like goofy edge to it that Geats didn't have, but it feels like it's sort of filling that place in Kamen Rider where it's edging more towards a Rider show and less away from like a Sentai show or something like that. Which I'm liking, and I still am loving like the characters and stuff like that. I'm liking all that. So still excited to see where we go from here.
So there's 46, they said. We have 55 more chemis to see. So there's tons of up still, Josh. There's tons of up still.
Indeed. And then, of course, once they collect them all, we'll have to figure out just why they needed them all collected by the end of the year. And there's probably going to be a lot of like, now go recapture everybody again or something like that. I'm sure there's going to be.
They're going to New Game Plus it.
They're going to New Game Plus it. This final boss is going to have a secret second life bar, I think, for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up, I think, our discussion of Gotchard episode 13 here. Just as a reminder, again, you can check out even more Toby and Josh over on the Patreon, patreon.com/the comment writers. And you can check out our upcoming watch and react of the Geats movie, where you will see the movie. You'll hear us talk. It's kind of like Mystery Science Theater, but for tokusatsu. And, when you sign up for that for $3, you get all of our X-Aid watching up until this point, and all of our Black Sun watch, and you get to join our Discord. So you get to join in on our little community we've got going over there, which is a good time. And of course, if you want to send us in emails or, anything like fun games like Charlie did today, send those over to cast@commonwritersucks.com. All right. As we close out the episode here, Toby, why don't you tell the people where they can find you on the internet?
On Twitter, it's @LifeOfTobes, and on YouTube, it's Tobes Plays, where I'm currently now doing all the Resident Evil games, plus a Pokemon Advent Calendar for the holidays, and the Lego Advent Calendar for the holidays.
Oh, nice. Double Advent Calendar.
Double Advent Calendars. Content for #days.
I got a coffee Advent Calendar for Christmas, but it's not a good one. It's a K-Cup one that came just from like a local grocery store. And so it's fun in the sense that like it's just a fun little Advent calendar, but the coffee goes from like horrible to like passing barely. So it was exciting today because the coffee didn't make me gag when I drank. So that's all good.
Good coffee.
For me on the internet, you can find me on Twitter and Tumblr and Threads and pretty much wherever else @PrettyDeeceJosh. And of course on YouTube, it's youtube.com/PrettyDeece, where you can find the video version of these episodes. So that's again going to do it for us for this week. We will be back next time to talk about Gotchard episode 14. To start the next of our 2-episode arcs, probably. And we hope you join us back for that discussion as well. But until then, have a great week. Peace.